Hello students, welcome to our on-demand revision class. I had to take this video because I need my students to understand Laravel. Laravel seems to be very difficult for my PHP students. So I'm making this video to simplify everything. Remember, the purpose of our tutorials is and our YouTube channel is to make things easier than we thought. So I'll take the topic today, back-end programming, Laravel with database. Okay, and the database you'll use is MySQL. So I'm going to take it very slowly. Just make sure you follow. You can pause, you can rewind, you can leave a comment, like, subscribe. Okay, you won't run into any errors. I've split this to make it very simple for you guys. Okay, so I've split it into three. Actually, we have models, we have controllers, and we have the views part. So we'll start with the models. All right, so first of all, we need to create our project. We'll create our project right away. So the first step to take while we create our project, go to localhost, local disk, and then get to XAMPP, get to htdocs, create a folder here. Okay, I already created mine called Laravel, all lowercase. So what you do is you double click and open that folder, and here, to make life easier for you, so what you do is right click here on an empty space and say open with code. It should pop up and open with your Visual Studio Code. Okay, so what you need to do here is to what you need to do here, as you are here, we will create a new project. So how do we do that? We type the command php artisan create project. Okay, php artisan create project, Laravel / Laravel, and your project name. Okay, so that's how you create your project. So php artisan create dash project, Laravel, and then you have your project name. So my project name will be let me just call it stock manager. Okay, and then you hit enter. So while that installs, let me pause this video. Okay, so we have successfully created a project called stock manager. You can see it here, but we are not in that folder, so we won't be on this directory to create any PHP artisan, otherwise we get into error. So what we do is, you can, now that you have stock manager among the list of projects as in here, stock manager, so what you do, you can close this. Okay, so once we do that, come over back to your folder here where you have XAMPP, htdocs, Laravel, or whatever folder you created. You see a list of your projects. So what you do, click on the stock manager or project you created, the name, right click on it, and then open with code. Okay, so once you open that with code, the first thing you do is to create a database. So we make sure you open your XAMPP, start the Apache and the MySQL, then you can close it. Okay, and then get to localhost. Okay, let me just do that. So you get to localhost, just localhost, and then click on phpMyAdmin. It will take you to this page. So these are the list of your databases. We want to create a new database, so I can just call it YouTube underscore stock manager. Okay, stock manager YouTube. Yeah, So once I create the database, we have it somewhere here, yeah, YouTube underscore stock manager. So the next thing we'll do would be to get to open our env file and then make sure that we change the name here, the name of the database here. Okay, so we just change it to YouTube underscore stock manager. Okay, then you save. Once you do that, you've connected to the database. You can leave the root and the passwords as they are. So you can close this, and then what we need to do, we first of all need to migrate our initial tables. If you check here, if you check our database migrations, you see that we have a set of predefined tables that Laravel have for us. So to migrate actually means to move PHP code that have been created so that when we move it to the database, it's able to create the associated tables in the database. So we don't have to perform that task anymore. So these are the default tables, and we are going to move them now to this empty database we just created. Uh, if you check that YouTube, so it's empty. Okay, structure is empty. So let's make let's migrate. So we click on this, and let me make this. So we have php artisan migrate. So it will migrate for us. Let me just check. Oh, it doesn't take time. Okay, all right. So it's performing the migrations for each of the default tables. So if we check this structure again, you see that our tables are here. Okay, so once we migrate those default tables, we can always perform migrations later on when we create tables. You can create multiple tables at once, and you can create multiple tables and then migrate at once, or you can either migrate each table you create, okay, whichever is easier for you. So since we've done that, we've migrated a default table, the next step would be to create a model that um, a model on our, like a table. We'll create a table on our database. Okay, so these are the predefined tables from Laravel, but we want to create a table like a categories table. Since we are working on stock manager, we'll create a category table, and then maybe products table and other things that can manage stock. Okay, so to do that, we need to create our own table, and the way we do that is to define the models for the structure and the layout of that table. Okay, so a model allows you to create columns for your tables in Laravel and then move them to the database. Okay, so it's time to create our own tables. So to do that, we get back here to our code. Okay, so far so good. Let me open another. We click on this plus to open another terminal in order to run PHP. So PHP artisan serve will run the server for us. So at localhost 8000, let's just open that, localhost 8000. Okay, so in this video I've bypassed the part of working with templates. I don't want to complicate any issue, so as simple as it is, work with a very bare bones template, nothing inside at all, then just be able to understand the models and the database systems with the controllers first before you can integrate your templates. That way it will be easier for you to understand what you are doing. So if we go here, Laravel, I had to remove the default um, template of Laravel. So if we get to resources, we get to view welcome, you see a lot of a code block with some styling, but I had to remove. So you might just say testing with YouTube for you to see that this page is live. So okay, so it works. So that's just our home page, our welcome page. So now this is running perfectly. So the next thing we'll do now, we need to create a model called category. So how do we do this? Let me clear this. So to create a model called category, what we need to do is we use a PHP command called PHP artisan make, the same one we use for controllers, but this time model, make model, and the model name category. Start the model name with capital letter category. Okay, then we have this flag with migration so that it will create the migrations for us. So -m. Okay, so once we do this, it will create a model for us with migration. Now let's look at the model it has created for us. So if we go to database, first of all, if we go to app, we get to models, you will see category model that it has just created for us. So if we also get to migrations, database migrations, then we'll see that creates categories table. Okay, so we'll soon work on this. All right, so let me clear this again so that I have more space. So we have created a model, so it's time to add details to our table. How do we do this? So we get here, we click on this migration, the one with creates categories table that is just automatically named for us. Okay, and then we get here. Once we get here, we should be able to add our columns. Add it after the id field. Okay, it can be timestamps. It's just a way of creating columns that will show when this table was created and when it's updated. So it will create two columns for us automatically. Table creation date and time, and table updates date and time, something like that. So we have essentially we'll create just two columns, maybe name of category. Okay, so the name will be a varchar. So the way Laravel understands it is as string. Okay, so we have the name here. All right, so we also have another one, text, because we want to create a longer text. Okay, that maybe users are able to supply the description or the detail of the category. So we have added these two columns. Okay, so now that we have added these two columns, we can create more tables now as desired, or maybe we can just do them later. But after creating the tables, you need a way of moving these tables from here to here because they are not already present, so you have to migrate them. All right, so let's run our PHP artisan migrate again. PHP artisan migrate. So that should migrate this new categories table for us, in which you have seen it updated here, categories with our two. If you look at the structure, you see the name varchar and the description text. All right, so that being done, we move to our next step, which is controllers. I want you to just research the purpose of controller, but I might just briefly talk about it. So it's time to create a controller. So a controller kind of trying to produce or maybe present our views for us. Okay, trying to, if you read much about model view controller, the MVC at the MVC architecture, you'll understand a bit about programming, you'll understand a bit about the controller. So but I give it as a task to you to check why we need a controller. So but we'll create a controller now, and yep. So how do we do that? The same way we did model, but we just change it to controller and then create our controller. So let's look at that. So here we have, instead of model, we have controller. Okay, so what's the name of a controller? We can call it category controller. Okay, and instead of M to migrate, we have R. Okay, for resource, we want to create it as a resource at once. So we have that, and you can check we don't have controllers. When you come to app, HTTP controllers, you don't have any other controllers, but once we hit this enter, you see that it will be added for us. So it has added the category controller for us here. Okay, so everything is empty. We'll talk about each of these methods. This method will just display. This one should be able to provide the form for creating a new data, and then this one should be able to actually store the new data. This one should be able to edit or maybe show details of a particular data. based on the ID. This one should be able to edit the data, this one can update, and then this one can delete. All right, so we are here, and then the next thing to do is just to update our view here. So like I mentioned before, controllers kind of present the views for us to see. So it's just like an engine that tells the location of the view, that points to the location of the view. So we need this pointer so that we know which view will be able to do what. So a view is like a display, what it will display, the page you see. A model communicates with the database, then a controller is able to define the presentation of a view. So but you can read more about controllers at your spare. Okay, so what we need to do is just to return a view here. Okay, and controllers can send data to views as well. That's also a good thing. So we have a view here. So we define our view, and view is actually the page we want to hit. We want to access when we hit on this function. Okay, so let's call this one category dot index. Okay, so what we have a semicolon here. So what we actually mean is go to category folder inside of here. Let me minimize a lot of things. So we minimize every other thing. So go to our resources, get to our views, okay, view here, and then get into categories folder, and then look for index.blade.php. So this is what it means. Okay, so we don't already have this file, so we'll just hop up and create the file now. So inside our resources views, we have a folder. Let's create a new folder called category. It must be the same spelling and the same um, casing. Yeah, so we have category spelled correctly, right? Okay, and then inside category we have a new file called index.blade. Remember to use blade, not php directly. .php. So blade is a templating engine for Laravel. Okay, so we can define some syntax that Laravel understands using blade. So we have this file, and to make things easier, this file is empty for now, but I might just say category index page. Okay, so we'll soon see how to access this file. Okay, it's just like our normal welcome file that we define something here and we are able to see it. Okay, so we'll be able to get to this file index and then see what is written here inside category. Why? Because we have a definition for it from our controller that we can view that file. So but if we try to do that now, it won't be accessible. So let's try maybe category, and then let me spell that correctly, and then because its index is the first file, so it should just show without any other thing. So it's not yet found because we've not defined the URL for it. So the next step we'll take would be to define URL for that file in order to link it, to route it properly. Okay, so what we'll do now is just to add that URL to our web page. So we get to our routes. Okay, we get to our routes. Okay, and then once we get to our routes, we have this one already, so we need another one since we are using resources. So it's quite easy. We have route singular and then resource. Okay, then we have category. Okay, category controller. We need to import that class. So we need to import this class, otherwise we will not still be able to see it. So category controller. So where is this category controller? It's in app. Okay, HTTP controllers, category controller. So all we need to do here, use app, okay, this app HTTP, just as it's spelled, controllers, and then lastly we have categories controller. Okay, and then so let's check that again. So now you can see our category page index has been properly routed. So this is a very simple approach. So we just see how we communicate. The communication is from our category, from our controller to our web file, to our route. So we are able to import this controller, and then we are able to present all the methods within that controller, all of them. We'll be able to use this single line to present all the methods within our controller. So this is pretty much how you present a simple page using that controller, right? So the next thing, since we've been able to present a simple page, we want a situation where we are able to fetch data from the database, okay, and present on this view. So instead of just having something we type here, yeah, here, so instead of just having something here, that of course will change. So we can have we can manually create one or two data in order to test the functionality of selecting from the database. So we have, so this should be our categories, and we have electronics, okay, and this includes all types of electronics. Yeah. All right, so that's the description. Let's just add one. Okay, so we can we talk about fashion, or maybe clothing, something like that. So this includes all types of clothes and fashion. So just a description of this category. Okay, so we can save. We have two categories already now. So we have these categories. If you browse, you see our two categories with name, electronics, clothing, and their description, right? We didn't create this, but from Laravel it will automatically create this. Once we start doing Laravel, we should have been able to just add that, but it's no problem at all. So we have our two categories. We want a way of presenting these categories on this page. So the same concept, you can use it to present the categories even on your welcome page. So adapt this concept. If you want to present whatever information from the database, you can present it here or maybe on any page once you adapt the same concept. All right, so the next thing to do will be, let me just check this. So we have, yeah, so we've done that properly. So we need a way to get that data that we just created. Okay, since we have now routed our page properly. So to get that data, we need to include something here. Let me close this. We don't need this again. So we don't need this. So we need to include something here before we return that stuff. So get our data. That's what we want to do. Okay, so this one is present the page with data. So we'll have where to add our data here and present the page. So let's just create our data first. So, or fetch our data. Let me use that. Fetch our data from database. So the first thing to do will be to have a data variable. Okay, remember our variables, beginner class, the category. So all, we want to fetch all data. So we use that double, colon, colon. Is that colon, colon? Yes. All right, so all, and then it's empty because we want to fetch all. And then once we do that, this data now should be sent to this page. Okay, so you just add a comma here, and then you're able to open square brackets, and then just have a data. How do you want to call it from the other page? So it's like you're using a new variable here, and then you are now assigning it to this data. Okay, so you are assigning your new variable, you are sending as a string so that it will avoid any errors. So you are assigning it to this data variable. So that way you will be able to call it here. So let me just remove this something here and then be able to call that data. We can just create a simple table. A table looks like this in HTML table. Okay, so we have table tr. Okay, so we have tr and sorry tr, that's table row. Then we have td between them, td. Okay, so it's like we present our data here. So let's just show that that's still working. So we have our data. Come up now. Okay, what are we having an error? Why? I think it's because of what we've not completely written, or are we having an error? I don't think so, sir. Category all. Didn't I spell that well? Okay, it's not seeing the data. So I think let's just complete things and be sure that everything works properly. Okay, so we have our data here. Let me be sure this works very well. So this is sent, and then this is, I think this is fine. Category or, okay. Okay, he's actually calling. Okay, okay, I made a mistake with this. Okay, we've not imported our category, so we need to do that already. Okay, so how do you import your category? Okay, so where is that category? How do we import it? So we will import it by using, so all we need to do is just to check where is that category model. We actually want to import the model. Okay, so where is that category model? So from here we can go to H models, right? So we can get to models. So app models, just like we did for our controllers in the web.php in the route file. So app, we have model. Okay, models with S. Okay, and inside models we have category. So we just type in category. So it has seen category, then we close that. So we didn't understand where to get this category from. So we need to import the category model, okay, or whatever model you'll be using. Okay, so once we do that, this should have worked without any errors. So it's working. So anything you type in there, it's working. So the next thing will be to actually fetch that data or those data. So how do you do this? We have our data, our table is working properly. So what we'll just need to do is inside our table so that we'll be able to iterate. So we'll have at if data is defined, if data has been defined, that is looking at this. If data has been defined and sent to us, okay, so what should we do with that? So for each, so remember our for each loop that loops, okay, that iterates through a set of data, so or an array, so to speak. So we have our data, okay, as, remember how we do our for each loop. So we now define a new variable d, data as d for it, okay. Then we now have this. So once we do that, the last part of things you need to do will just be end your for each. Where is that character? And for each, okay. Then we have if here that we also need to end. So also end your if. So I hope I've like really done this again and again and making sure that I'm not rushing over it, that you guys understand it very well. So I've taken time to show you every step, and it's not much. Laravel is really easy to work with, and you've seen how to do that. So once you do that, if you've not fetched any data, it will still give you that DTA. We've not fetched any new data. So what we need to do is to be able to use this D that we just defined, this one, which is a new variable that we can use to work with that array. So we use it, and then we have dots. Do we need ID? Just have title. Let me check. What's our name? We have name, actually name and description. So name, and we have description. So as we have more columns, we are able to add those columns here. Okay, so if we refresh this again, so we have our data here. Okay, let me just make this table border equal to 3. So you understand now. So we have our these. I can as well add what's here. Let me just add th here, th, that's table headers, th, and the first one is name and the other one is description. Yeah. All right, so let's see how they look. So we have our table data, okay, name, the electronics, and the description. So this is how you fetch data. You can present the data any way you like. It mustn't be in a table. It can be in a div, it can be in a paragraph, it can be in a nice card if you are using something like frameworks, CSS frameworks like Bootstrap, Bomber, Tailwind CSS, and what have you. So that is how you are able to fetch data, and it's as simple as ABC. So points to notes and something to really understand. This is the only line you need up to here, and you close your bracket in order to present any view, any page that you create. Okay, so if we did not create this within category, let me just say we put it just inside view without any folder, then it should have just been like this, okay, without any folder. So it's because of that folder that we had this. Okay, so we put it inside category, and then inside that category we now have another subcategory, maybe subcategory. We now create another folder here, new folder, and call it sub, and then move the index of blade inside the sub. Then we would have something like this. Okay, so you understand the category, the structure, the directory structure. You don't have to use this here. Okay, it won't work well with PHP here. Okay, because it needs to be like the syntax string. So you use this. So let's leave it at this, and everything keeps working. So I'll charge you guys. So while working on your projects, while working on the task I give to you, you should focus more on being able to fetch your data. First of all, it's easier to add data here and fetch it here. Fetch your data and then be able to send data to the database. Once everything works, then you can go back to that first tutorial to be able to integrate your templates. But if you start by integrating your templates, you may face the complexity that you complained about. So I don't want you to face those complexity. Just do things very easily in very easy steps like we have done today. So thank you very much for watching, and I give you a task of completing this products category and then create products table. And yeah, let me just give it like an assignment. So we've created a category table. So the next thing you do is just to create a products table. All right. So you might just have, let me just like show you what to do. So you may have another folder here, okay, called products, okay, and then you have an index.blade.php that you present all the products, right? And in your product controller model, you should import your product model, not category model. Okay, you can import the two because of the relationships if you have to do that way. So you import your product, you import your product model, and then you use product here, and then you have your product folder here, and then you're able to get here, and then you fetch pretty much the same way. Okay, but if you also check the previous video, I think I included how you can work with, okay, maybe not, I'll just do that in our next video, how you can create relationships between tables. We need a relationship like category, so that when we create television, it should belong to electronics category. If we create a corporate shirt, for instance, it should belong to the clothes category. Okay, so we need a way of making each product to belong to a category. Okay, so maybe I'll just put that in our next video, and then that next video also we'll talk about how to actually insert data from our Laravel to our PHP to our database. Okay, so just to make sure things are working smoothly, and then you can check as well, we can add one more, or we can insert one more column. So let's just say, how can I call these books? Okay, all kinds of books. Okay, then just one more, and then here we are able to add created dates. Okay, I think that's how to do it manually, and then updated dates. Okay, let me just choose, so updated here. Okay, so we click go, and then I think it's created. So if we browse, we see all kinds of books. All right, so if we refresh this, then books will join. Okay, so we are able to iterate through the arrays from our MySQL database and present the data to the user. So that's really a big one. So you should be able to do this before our class, next class, and work on the assignment I just gave. Thank you very much. Bye.